Good morning, 8L2, and welcome to your topic on the loyalist. I see Ms. Holmes is having a wonderful time subbing for me, and I hope you've made her feel welcome. As you have learned, the American Revolution was a war that happened mainly because the American colonists were tired of paying taxes that they felt were unfair. So they wanted to be independent, but there were still some people who wished to remain with the king. These were the loyalists. Now, let's learn a little bit more about the loyalists. We know that they are also called Tories, and they were American colonists who wanted to remain under British rule and did not want a revolution nor independence. And they came from all walks of life and professional background: doctors, farmers, lawyers, blacksmiths, all of these. But they had one thing in common: they wanted to remain loyal under the king. A significant amount of loyalists were actually African American slaves. And the way that came about was the British made a promise to free the slaves from their patriot masters if they would actually fight on the side of the British. So as you can imagine, as a slave, you would want your freedom. So you would fight. You would put your life on the line so that you can gain this freedom, because this may be the only chance you have. About 50,000 slaves actually fled from their masters to join the war to fight on the side of the loyalists. Now, why would you remain loyal to something that you felt was unfair or could have been seen as unfair? Well, the fact of the matter was the loyalists didn't see the paying of taxes as unfair. They saw it as their contribution to being protected by the British Army. Another reason is that they felt that this war was silly because they felt that the British Army could not be defeated. Another thing was a lot of the loyalists came from the southern colonies where they had cotton and tobacco plantations. So they were enjoying the money that they were making trading with the British off of this tobacco and this cotton. Another reason that we could also say they wanted to remain loyal was because they felt that going against the king was actually morally wrong, okay? They believed that you should go along with what the king said because he is handpicked by God, okay? And so this was some of the reasons why the loyalists wanted to remain loyal. Now, sometimes when you stand up for what you believe in, you are persecuted. Sometimes when you stand up for something that you believe in, you are often persecuted because other people do not see your viewpoint. They do not believe in what you believe in. And so this happened to the loyalists. They were attacked from the radical patriots. They were in their communities. They were not allowed to come in certain stores to buy goods. Their stores were not patronized, which means that they were not making any money because people would not come in their stores. Their children could not go to school in some situation. They lost their homes. They lost their businesses. In some instances, they were banished from the colony. They were under constant threat during the war. And so even some of them were kidnapped. They were tarred and they were feathered, where they would take the tar and they would tar their skin and put feathers in it. And when it comes out, it would come out with their skin. So this was horrendous bullying, horrendous persecution. So because of this, many of the loyalists fled to other places where they could live a safe life until the war was over. And in fact, some people decided to stay because they were so angry that they actually joined the British Army, or they formed their own army to go against the rebels. Now, as we said, some of them were looking for a new home due to the persecution. And so many of the southern loyalists moved to East Florida, which at that time was owned by the British. It wasn't a part of the United States. Remember, there is no United States. It's just American colonies. But at that time, Florida was not one of the American colonies. And it was just a place that was owned by the British. And so they went to live there. But what happened was the Treaty of Versailles was signed in 1783. And it actually returned East Florida to Spain. And so Spain gave them 18 months to move. So now they're looking for a new home once again. This gentleman, Sir Guy Carleton, who was a British commander-in-chief in North America, suggested that they move to the Bahamas. Now, why would he say the Bahamas? They had options. They could have moved to Canada, which was also owned by the British. They could have moved to other places. They could have moved back to England. but he suggested the Bahamas. So we're going to look at why. Why did he suggest the Bahamas? Well, one of the reasons why was because it was owned by Britain. Because it was owned by Britain, they are able to be in a country where they are loyal to the king and they don't have to worry about persecution. Another reason why is because of the warm climate. The warm climate was suitable for plantation farming. And so they were able to get their tobacco and their cotton. They can start up their trade again and they can go back to making their money for their livelihood. Another thing was that there was available land. There were more land than people. And so they didn't have to worry about finding enough land to build their plantation because a lot of the islands were not very populated. Another reason that we could say, reason 4, was the soil was suitable for growing cotton. It was a little rocky, but they said that it was suitable for growing cotton, and cotton was their main product that they made their money off of. Now, another thing that they did to convince people to come to the Bahamas was they told them that the head of every family would be given 40 acres of land. And in fact, other family members, whether you were black or white, were given 20 acres of land at a rental price of 2 shillings per 100 acres. And in fact, some loyalists actually got it for free. And so this was actually a great way to get people to want to move to the Bahamas. Now, I know I've said a lot. I wonder if you were listening. Did you keep up with what I said? We'll see in this loyalty, not liberty game next.